I really always go back to what your values are and what your needs are in an office space.
Co-working spaces. There are so many options. Now, if you work at home or you work remotely, that is probably one thing on your mind. If you don't already work at a co-working space, how do you go about choosing one? There's so many different options. So in this video, we talked to 3 different co-working operators, small, mid-size, and large, to figure out how to choose the right co-working space for yourself. If you're in the startup space, there's no surprise you've heard of co-working spaces. But what are they? Well, co-working spaces are kind of like shared offices where people co-work with each other. The way it works is that you typically buy a membership and you get access to space. Sometimes it is a desk, other times it is offices. And based on how much you need it for and the length of time, you perhaps pay a membership fee. Now, co-working spaces can really be found in almost every major metropolitan city. Now, when it comes to that, what you have to figure out is, based on your local community, what is the best and right co-working space for you. Now, if you're curious about who actually uses co-working spaces, well, it's really a wide spectrum. You have everyone from a solopreneur or a freelancer, or someone who just works by themselves on their business. Perhaps it's a lawyer, accountant, all the way from startups with a few employees, all the way to enterprises. Now, you probably heard of some of the big names such as WeWork and others. When it comes to those, what you'll realize is there's a spectrum, and based on that, you might have different needs. For a startup or a solopreneur, they might just need a desk. Whereas if you're an employee, or perhaps you are a team of 50 or 30, you might need a dedicated office or a space where you can all communicate with each other. When it comes to co-working memberships, you have 3 options. One is what's typically called a hot desk or a shared desk. Now, what you have right behind me is something like it. You pay a membership fee and you get access to any available desk space. Now, that is a typical hot desk. When you have a dedicated desk, that typically means you have a dedicated desk just for yourself. So you can come in, you can leave your stuff if you want to, and you have that dedicated space available. And on the more private end, you have an office. An office could be one individual person or 2 people, or you can have much bigger offices. Now, that's dependent on your needs. In this video, we're going to talk to 3 co-working operators to help you understand how to go about choosing a co-working space. Whether you're a startup or you're an enterprise with several employees, this will help you decide on how to choose the best and right co-working space based on your need. Hey everyone, I'm here with Neil Martin, who's the co-founder of Project Spaces, the space that we're in. Hey Neil.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. So obviously we're here in Project Spaces. What exactly is Project Spaces?
So Project Spaces is a growing network of shared office spaces or co-working spaces for entrepreneurs, freelancers, remote workers, digital nomads of all kinds. So you're in our Camden Street location right now, which we opened in 2014. Our first location is over at King of Bathurst, which we opened in 2011 over in King West.
Wonderful. And what makes Project Spaces different than other co-working spaces?
I think we like to talk about the vibe here. We're very community focused. Most of our companies here are 1 or 2 person teams. So these are people who could be working at home, they could be working by themselves, but that's boring and lonely, right? So they're looking for a place to have some routine, to be able to come interact with people. And so we really like to focus on the people.
Hey, my name is Zachary Habayeb. I am the Community Development Lead at Watershed Partners. We are a collective of co-working spaces in the city of Toronto and the city of Victoria in BC, British Columbia. Our co-working space is unique as we like to curate our community a little bit more so than you would find at, let's say, a WeWork or a Spaces. It's all about creating the right environments, not only with the people, but also in the actual physical environment. So what does the space make you feel? How does it evoke an emotion? That's why we have plants everywhere, and we like warm colors like wood and natural earth tones like blues and greens, just to make a more productive, calming environment. What makes the Watershed different from other co-working spaces in the city of Toronto is we are kind of a multifaceted organization. We have an organization called The Watershed, which is our co-working offering where we curate community specifically focused around Canadian technology and Canadian startups. So we have companies from Montreal, Vancouver, Victoria, Toronto, and Ottawa here in the space. But we also have another business arm called Watershed Partners, which is a collaborative design management consulting firm that helps essentially support the watershed and build local communities in each market that we operate in, like Victoria, BC, Ottawa, and Toronto.
Hey everyone, so I'm here with Sarah, and Sarah, could you just share a bit more about yourself and IQ?
Absolutely. So my name is Sarah Lieberman. I'm the Vice President of Sales at IQ Offices. I've been with the company for 5 years. We were founded in 2012, so I got in a couple of years in. We started with 1 location in Toronto, and today we are 11 locations.
Wow, and these locations, are they all around the world? Are they in Canada? Which cities?
Sure. So we are actually the largest Canadian independent co-working operator in the country. Very exciting. And we calculate that by square footage. We are in Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Ottawa, and Montreal, about to add one more city as well.
Gotcha. So obviously you have a realm of experience operating in different cities. What makes your co-working space different? Because we are aware of other co-working space. So what makes IQ different than others?
Absolutely. We really have 3 differentiators that we like to focus on. The first is our space. We like to build beautiful spaces, as you can see here. We always look at the best buildings and the best markets in the cities that we serve. So that's definitely the first one. The second one has to do with our level of service. We make sure to staff each of our locations so that as our members on site, they can focus on their core business, and we focus on everything having to do with managing the workspace around them. And then the third one has to do with privacy and security. We really put a focus on building productive workspaces for our members where they can hire, attract, engage, and retain the best talent in the city.
Now, who's a co-working space right for? Well, typically if you just need to get out of the office and work somewhere else, or if you need a dedicated place, or perhaps you're traveling and you need somewhere to just really hunker down and get some work done, that is a great place to really get some work done. Now, of course, there are other places to work in addition to your home, libraries, and others, but co-working spaces offer a unique service where it's a dedicated place and you get the expected value that you pay for.
So who's co-working not right for? I think as a co-working enthusiast myself, I would say there's probably a space out there for everybody, but there's definitely certain people who probably shouldn't work at certain spaces. And it really depends on, so here we're a very kind of open concept, very communal, very social kind of space. So if you're someone that needs quiet all the time, or what you're working on needs like extreme privacy, we may not be the space for you. But I think there probably is a space for that person. So I would counter and say there's probably a space for everybody.
So there are other co-working spaces, and not one co-working space is right for everyone. As you mentioned, there are co-working spaces for bootstraps, startups, and all the way to enterprises.
Absolutely.
Could you share a bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of great co-working spaces in the city across Canada that really focus on that startup that's looking to network with their neighbors to help build their company. At IQ, we really do focus a little bit more on corporate companies that have more established businesses. They see their visions and they're really looking to then attract that talent to help them grow their business. Of course, we still cater to those independent professionals, lots of lawyers on site, for example. So you really do see that wide spectrum of companies that are here.
When it comes to choosing a co-working space, the first one being which is typically budget, your cost. The others are the internet speed, members, the facility itself, how something feels, the community, the events, and the security of it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk to 3 operators and get their perspective and their hot takes on it.
When it comes to cost and budget for each person, there are different criteria, right? Everyone has their own budget. If you are the lone entrepreneur, you're probably going to want to be as scrappy as possible. Maybe even negotiate a desk rate at a co-working company. If you are an established enterprise, you're probably more focused on good service, high quality offering, a fully managed office where you don't have to think about anything like coffee, Wi-Fi, IT. These things, these operational costs scale as you get bigger. So I think it really depends on where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. If you are a solo entrepreneur, I would say optimize for price, and then also I would prioritize community as a second.
In terms of the facilities here, we're definitely very kind of open concept. We like to focus on hospitality and creating a really welcoming feel and vibe for people. Of course, people also need to think about kind of what their needs are as a business. Every business is different, and every co-working space is different as a facility in terms of what they can offer you. Whether you need lots of printing, or you need lots of meeting room time or storage. It's important to make sure that the space you're going to join has what you need for your business.
The next thing that's on top of everyone's mind is you have the facility, but how does it make you feel? Just like if you're buying a new home, when you walk into it, you kind of feel it or you don't. How would you describe a place like IQ to someone who's never been here?
Great question. The feel here, first and foremost, is we try to build spaces that are inspiring. Whether that's adding in greenery, adding in different seating options. We want to build a space that is as distraction-free as possible, that allows you to do your best work every day. So if we could, in one word, I'd definitely say inspiring.
Could you share a bit more about the internet, the speed, and the stability of it here?
Absolutely. The internet is huge for companies. I mean, we all work all day on the internet. We really put in the best in-class technology. We're not taking an internet package that you put in your home and installing it in our center. So each center we put in 2 single or 1 gigabyte pipes into the space. What we then do, because privacy and security is such a large focus for us, is we divide each company into your own VLAN. What that means is you're firewalled into your own subnetwork. So if you're somebody that works at home that maybe stops into Starbucks a couple times a week to get some work done, you hop onto their network, everybody will be able to access your information. If you come into a co-working space like ours, you're going to be firewalled into that subnetwork. Only people within your company will be able to see it.
By the way, if you want to join a private community of like-minded remote founders and leaders, check out council.club. Now, on to the rest of the list.
So in terms of the membership and the community at Project Spaces, I would say it's extremely diverse in terms of the industries people are coming from. But it's everything from small business owners and startup founders to freelancers and remote workers. We have a lot of digital marketers, creatives, all the way to filmmakers and photographers. But we also get some lawyers and accountants because we're really a good home for anybody who doesn't want to work in the coffee shop anymore. But yeah, I would say the people around you are definitely very social.
I can tell you a story about how community is important. We had a woman who was raising on a company. It was a fertility tech company. She joined the Watershed and pitched her company to a firm called Panache VC, which is pre-seed and seed stage, as well as another organization called AngelList that operates here, and walked away with a $200,000 check to fund her business.
In terms of choosing a location of a co-working space, I think it's much different than a gym. A gym, you're going for personal reasons and you want convenience when choosing a gym. A co-working space, firstly, you're looking to be close to your clients. And more importantly, you're looking to be where talent wants to be. It's such a tight talent market right now, and there's so much of it. You want to be where they want to be, and they want to be close to transit. They want to be close to amenities. So I would not necessarily go for the convenient location for your commute. Go to where you can find that talent, because we know that's every company's best asset.
With the Watershed, access is very important, and we're proud to offer our members 24/7 access, 365 days of the year, if you are a dedicated desk member, a hot desk member, or a private office member. You get a key fob that gives you access to the building. If you're a day pass user, we operate on a 9 to 5 schedule with some flexibility before and after. If you need to work late.
So in terms of choosing a space, I think events are super important as well. At Project Spaces, our events are designed to basically help you meet and we hope become friends with the people around you. So every month we host a couple of breakfast events that we call Boost, designed to kind of get you up early and powering through your goals for the day. We host a monthly member social that we call Groove, where you can kind of sit with your laptop out and have a drink and like I said, get to know the people around you in a more relaxed setting. We also work with a ton of outside groups and organizers to host meetups, panel discussions, workshops, and so it helps make our spaces very, very active.
Yeah, I think when someone is coming from a work-at-home environment and looking to evaluate a co-working space, they should look into the community, the programming, the events, who's in the space and the vibe. So get a sense of what it's like to work in the space for a day. Always try before you buy.
So in terms of other factors when selecting a co-working space, it's maybe feels weird to say, but for us it feels super important. I'll say that's vibe. It's tough to put your finger on it, right? But it's the kind of thing that you're really not going to pick up on it until you go there, maybe spend a day working, meet some of the people there. I think of all the factors we've talked about, how you feel when you're at the space. Do you feel that you're comfortable, that you can talk to people, reach out for help, that it's a place where you want to be? So vibe is important, but I would say you have to go, you can't determine the vibe of a place by just checking out their website. So come visit.
So in terms of factors to choose, to think about when choosing a co-working space, I really always go back to what your values are and what your needs are in an office space. Are your needs networking? Are they attracting talent? Are they being distraction free? Are they the community? Are they being in a frat house? So you really always have to go back to your values and what your needs are in your day-to-day work environment.
So in terms of whether to get a monthly membership at a co-working space or use one of the sort of drop-in day pass services, I think it really depends on your business. I think the day pass apps that exist are awesome, and they cater really well to maybe an early stage entrepreneur or someone who's like wants to get out of the house and maybe kind of dip their foot in co-working, check out lots of spaces. Those apps make it really, really easy. I would probably suggest once you find your favorite one that you get a membership. You're going to get lots of other perks and discounts and access to all the different facilities, whether it's meeting rooms, events and all that kind of thing. All of that said, it really depends on you and your business. We get a lot of people coming through the space that are kind of digital nomads and travelers. So using those apps makes more sense for them than getting a month-by-month membership because they're not in the same city for more than a couple of weeks. So it really depends, but I would say if there's a place that you are comfortable, it's definitely worth it to pick up the membership.
My favorite part of co-working is that I get to meet new people every day. I think it's really fun and inspiring to hear these entrepreneurial stories and what people are really truly passionate about.
So my favorite part about co-working, I think both as someone who owns one and also just someone who gets to spend all his days in one, is that it makes every day unique. Being an entrepreneur, especially say a freelancer or a solo business owner, can be lonely and boring, especially if you're working at home. And so at Project Spaces, we like to say there's never a dull moment because you never know who you're going to meet. And I think that's, keeping things interesting is probably my favorite element.
If I were to change one thing about the co-working industry, I would kind of remove the stigma that's around it when it comes to open office plans. People think it's unproductive and distracting, but I think it's just part of the way people work these days.
So in terms of changing the way people work, I think what comes to mind to me is that, and we see it every day, so many people are naturally very shy and reserved, which is fine. I was a very shy person as a kid, but it means that you often miss out on all the potential collaboration or resources that are around you. Luckily, I would say that co-working is an effective solution for that, especially if you're at a place like Project Spaces where we kind of go out of our way to make sure you're meeting people. Even if you're kind of naturally shy, we can sort of help you break out of that shell.
If I could change one thing about the way people would work, I think it's the distractions around them. I think people have gotten used to working in distracted environments where they leave at the end of the day feeling unaccomplished. If we can build spaces and get people into spaces where they can be the most productive selves during the day, I think they can get a lot more done and feel better about themselves.
Now, as you found out, there are vastly different types of co-working spaces for startups, for enterprises, and there are different criteria. So for myself, I'm gonna now think about, well, how often do I really need to use a co-working space? And based on that, I might drop in for a day or get a membership pass. And that might be the same for you, or it might be somewhat different, and it's gonna vary person to person. At the end of the day, you have to decide what is right and best for you, and hope these tips have helped you decide on the right co-working space based on your needs and your budget. So do you currently work out of a co-working space? If yes, what do you love about it? And if no, are you thinking about it now, or are you completely comfortable working at home or working remotely? Let me know in the comments below. Before I let you go, one last tip is if you want to join a community of remote founders and leaders, head on over to council.club. By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe.